So, welcome to Two Girls with the Mic. I'm Crystal.
I'm Lena.
And on this episode, we will be interviewing author Mel Dau. Mel Dau was born in Italy, Vicenza, because I swear, Vicenza, but raised in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. Her love for urban literature did not arrive until mid-2016, reading over 900 books from 2016 to 2017. She was obsessed with reading, an obsession that helped her cope with her father's illness and death. In March of 2018, she decided to finally come from behind the wall and submit a short story, which resulted in her book, Kier and Fi, a Charleston love story, being published under Queens of Lit Presents. Under Queens of Lit Presents, she successfully published 15 titles that were all debuted in the top 50 on Amazon Top 100. In May of 2020, she was signed to her new publisher, Beloved Publications, where she continues her growth as an author. Like I told Lena when we decided we was going to do this and we start picking people, and then I was like, we have to get Mel Dau. Like, I'm a fan of Beloved, but the people she pushing out, I'm like, sis, like, oh my gosh. And you were one of them. Like, I'm like, where did she come from? Like,
so let me tell you, Beloved was my favorite author. She's like my GOAT. So I was reading her before I even started writing. So when I started writing, she didn't have Beloved publication yet. So then when she got Beloved publication, in my head, I said, if I can get my writing skills to where she can even just kind of look at me, I'll call myself a success. So then Queens of Lit kind of disband, and my publisher, she said, from Queens of Lit, Zatasha, who's over bookies, she asked me, she said, Thais, if you could be signed to anyone, who would you want to be signed to? I said, Beloved. She said, let me see if I can facilitate that. And when I tell you, Tasha called me back and she said, Beloved says, submit your writing. She'd love to have you. I was like, me? She was like, no, I was like legit crying. Like I called my brother, like, Beloved want to sign me. He was like, congratulations. Who's Beloved? I'm like, you gotta understand this. Like, roll with me. But I'm so, and when I tell you the strength of the writer she has and the positivity on that label, like if you are unsuccessful under her publication, you just don't want to do the work. It's literally as simple as that. Because I've never had, and like I said, my previous publisher was amazing, but we were all starting off brand new. It was a new publication company. We didn't know what we didn't know. Beloved has been in the game for a minute. So she has, some know-how. So now the embellishments and the things that I get from her is like, I would have never known that I could grow as much as a writer as I have. Because to me, if you read my first story, Kier and Pie, to my last one, Shameless Love, my writing style is different.
I can tell the difference with and I haven't read all of them, but that's why I was going to ask you how to pronounce her name, Pie, because one, I love their names. Like I want to be friends with them. Like I'm making me want to move to South Carolina, like be in their circle, all of that. I love everything about that entire family. And I'm a type of person, if you have a book and you have the matriarch at the top, and then all of a sudden they have all these kids, why can't we know about the kids? Like when they're adults, I love that you did that, like love that. But I definitely have to check out the first one because I think I had started reading the wrap up. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm missing something. And then I was like, oh, I gotta go back. So yeah, I have to go back. But that is a definite for me. Like, I don't care anything you write. I don't need to read the synopsis or anything. I'm like, oh, let me go and get that. Let me go ahead and get that. So yes, definitely.
And I'm proud of that family because to be honest with you, a lot of the people in that, I call them my foundation family. They are people like Pie is me. That's my nickname. So Kay is my line sister in real life. So Kier is my baby daddy had he act right. these things. So I used a lot of parallels with people that I knew. And when I wrote Kyer and Pie, I'll be honest, I wrote it in the voice of what I thought the reader wanted to read. Because at the time I was reading all them books. So I'm reading people like Latoya Nicole, Miss Lady P, who else? Paris Trene, so I'm reading a little bit more of street lit than romance outside of B. So I'm writing as Kyer and Pie. It was romance, but I still had that little thug side. And if you read my books, I've never really written about anybody that was in the streets deep. It's always somebody who was, and he came out of it. He legitimized himself. Oh. And that's for a reason. And that's for a reason, because like growing up, my dad did his thing, but he was always talking about this. You get off the street, the street shouldn't be your safe haven. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like you trap because you have to, not because you need to, not because you want to.
Right.
Once you're done, you get out the street. So I've always tried to make it seem like education and love, Black love, has always been in success, businesses. I am always, somebody could literally go in my books and steal a business plan.
They really can.
I come up with stuff off the top of my head, like, that'd be a cool business.
And I'm reading the love spectrum, and I'm just like, now I need to see how I can start me a cake shop. How I can start me a cake online cake business. How restaurant and shoe store, or just a business period out of there, because all those business, I love the fact that you have created the characters with their own businesses. They have their own success.
And it was important for me to have the women have a separate identity from their men.
Right. Yes, I love that. I definitely love that. And it's because you don't find, you find it in the book, but not too much. I can't remember. I just read a book. Oh yeah, it's Christina C. Jones' new book. The second one, maybe this time, the siblings had their own business, but the one who was married first, and actually maybe next time, she had her own business. Her husband had his own business. But with your books, they definitely have, the women have theirs, the men have theirs. There is nothing I can say. Like when I read yours, I feel like I'm in a whole, I didn't move to the country.
And I love, and but that's how I grew up. Like, so Washington Circle is literally how my grandmother's section is. So like her house is in the front, and then my dad's house was in the back. You got your aunties next door, so everything, family is in walking distance. So you buy, you buy a big piece of land, and everybody kind of move on that land somewhere. And we've gotten away from that. But that's still how people I'm country. I'm like walk outside with no shoes on country. So I'm like, look, bro.
Me too.
And not the little rocks, the big rocks.
And my family is set up like that. My grandmother's house right here. Then you walk a little further. Her sister's house, my great grandmama's house, my cousin's house. They all they call it Union Hill, and so they all.
You're not have no corner. This our corner.
Right.
You can't come in here and start no drama, because we are like, who that is out the door?
That's how. Who ran riding down the road?
Right. That part right there.
Yeah, my aunt's house is like that. We got my aunt, and then her son, like only one of her sons, and then her daughter at the time, her husband had built a house next to theirs, and then like when he passed, she kind of sold it off to somebody else. So he kind of like gated it off. But I just remember growing up, being outside, chasing our lunch, chasing our breakfast, chasing our dinner, having to go in the outhouse to use the bathroom, having to go to the well and pump water.
Look,
that time to my life.
I come from the area where we burn trash. What trash, man?
That can outside.
Yeah. I grew up, like I lived in the city. So like we grew up in the city, and I tell people all the time, me growing up, I had the best of both worlds. So we would be in the city during the winter time, but the summertime, I would like, I want to go down on Polly house. That was my aunt name. I want to go down on Polly house. And then my cousins, literally we would just walk. So their house was newer than hers. So if I, because until I got used to it, I had to be like, I'm going over George house to use the bathroom. Girl, you gotta go get in that porta potty. It's flies. Like my aunt didn't get a bathroom in her house until the early 90s.
Oh wow.
The early
yeah,
90s.
I was the exact opposite. The country was my home, and then my aunt stayed in Atlanta, and so in the summer we would come to Atlanta. But
yeah,
the country was
for me. It was my mom was from Brooklyn, so in the summer, some summers I would go up to Brooklyn, and then some summers they would come down to us. But they never had fun when they came down to us. You know how them city girls are. But when I went up there, I had fun because I'm a country girl, and at the time, even at that time, you could see even back then them city boys like country girls. So it's always been like that. So yeah,
because they know they're gonna get fed and loved on the right way. The
right
right way. And that's so funny. So you've never written a romance story before you came over to Be Love?
Not in the manner that I write now. No.
Okay.
So I think. Well, let me think. Did I write Love Spectrum under Be Love? I think Love's Touchdown probably was where I started writing true love stories.
And that was under Be Love?
No, that was the last one before I left Queens of Lit, and then I moved over. So now how I write now is completely different. Even though I still got a little bit of drama, but the drama's not as intense. Like in Kyrie and Pie, I was killing people, killing people. To like torturing, but now I'm like, okay, we might cut some people up, but I might be a little laxed on the and like so yeah, Be Loved. She bought out us because I started once I signed to her, I started reading more authors under her, and sometimes when you want to be the best, you study the best. Right. So just wordplay, different wordplay. I have a bunch of resource books, so I might write and then look at, well, let me see how this could sound better. I absolutely hate writing intimate scenes. If I could get away with not writing a sex scene, I would. But I know that readers, they're horny. I don't know what it is.
I'm not even gonna lie. I am one of them, and for you to say that, I'm shocked because your sex scenes are out of control.
I hate them. I'd be like, ugh. And then like the book that I'm reading now, they have a lot of sex. I was like, good God. And I'm gonna be honest, when I read books, I skim over the sex scenes, especially if it's like a page and a half. Okay, but this book I'm reading now, and it's a good book, she be having like 5-6 pages of sex. I'm like, what's reading? I'm like, good God. And then like one of my readers, she pointed out to me, she said, so did you realize in every sex scene you have anal sex? I was like, and she had me going back through my whole catalog like, she's like, yeah, she said, you had me and my husband in here trying some things. I was like, oh, well, if I can be encouraging, keep it married together.
I'm gonna tell you right here, and I'm not gonna do no ifs, ands, buts about it. Ain't nothing wrong with anal sex.
Look, and I said that's probably why I'm in there, because I'm an advocate. Like, do what you do, But I'm just like, I don't like. There are like sex scenes, and a lot of people may not notice. I rarely write wedding scenes or funerals. I'll never write a funeral. I might glaze over it, but I'll never write a funeral.
I don't want to read it. Yeah, I wouldn't want to read it.
I don't care for weddings either. Like, I think the only wedding I think I ever wrote might have been in Love Untainted, maybe. And that's because of the importance of that scene. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, I look, if you ain't never noticed, my people love the courthouse.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. When I finally get married, there might be where I might go. It might be in my backyard because it's nice. It's a nice size, so I might just be out there.
No, they love the courthouse. They go to the courthouse and then they have a little party. I'm like, look, ain't nothing wrong with us. I ain't got time.
I love that though. I'm so mad because I'm trying to find the last book I read with Kiara Lee, Kyra's daughter. And when she came back home, what is it called again?
The Christmas Gift.
Loved it. That's why I probably can't find it, because it's a Christmas book. Lena, pick that book up. Like,
and I was worried about writing that.
You really?
Yeah. So in the wrap up, I portrayed her as a troubled soul. So when I wrote it, I have a friend that every time I write a book, I call her my audible listener. So when I write a book, I have a process where I read it out loud. So she calls me and we're on the phone for hours, and I'll read out loud to her and we'll stop and be like, that don't sound right, or whatever. This is a part of my editing process. So I'll be like, that doesn't flow right. So we'll fix it, whatever. So when I was talking about it, she was like, you know, you're going to have to write a book about Kylie. And I was like, why? She was like, you already portrayed her as a troubled soul and she's never around. So people are going to wonder what's up with her. So I was like, oh God. So then I was like, you know, I love crossing my books over. So I was like, I'm going to just say she started dating Harlem Jr. And I have to put those books back, the backstories to those books out, which they're going to be coming soon.
Oh, good. Yay. Because like, I feel like I need to catch up with the whole family. But that book, when I read the wrap up and I, you know, saw a little bit about her. And then when you did that book, like when I say I devoured that book in literally one sitting, I didn't want to put it down. I loved her so much. Like her sister was a badass, but she was an even badder ass. Like, oh my God.
It took a while because I had to, because, you know, with the military aspect of it, I had to call my brother and sit on the phone with him. And we talked, because my brother's military and he just retired. And I'm talking to him about the plot of my book. And he was like, well, you might want to do it this way because it takes about this long to get on a medical leave. And this is one thing that I will say about me, that it's annoying, but kind of not. I want my books to be as factual as they can when it comes to certain processes. I work in human resource. So it's like, sometimes when I read books and I see stuff about people's jobs, I be like, bitch, that ain't never gonna happen. And I'm like, it's a book, right? It's just a book. Who cares? Who cares? You know, like, but to me, like when even the last book I have, Shameless Love, I looked up the tuition for UNCC to make sure I had the numbers right of how much she needed. And my friend was like, really? You think people really gonna care about that? I was like, well, I care.
But no, people really do care about that. I don't like reading books. And like you said, I'm not in human resources, but I have a job every day. So I know certain things that you write. I'd be like, come on now, really?
Right. Like things that are too far outlandish to me. Like when I get it that it's a book and it's fiction, but I think the readers like to be drawn into an alternate reality, but it's still a reality.
Right.
If that makes sense. So it's like, you know, it's outside of paranormal, but you know, and it's just like, I just like to have the facts. When I wrote Untainted Love, that was a hard book because I needed the facts. So I went to, and here in Charlotte, they have the #1 leading HIV and AIDS researcher. I visited him, got the numbers, got the stats. I did. So all of those stats you see in that book are correct.
You know what?
But I think it's important when you have the correct stats or information in the book, because you will be surprised that even though, let's say, although I'm not from South Carolina, somebody who's reading your book may be from South Carolina, and they're like, that is not true. Because there have been times that I've read books, and like even Crystal read books like about DC or Atlanta, and we're like, that is not true. Or we may know some facts about different things because you never know who your readers are.
Right. So, and if you notice, I don't venture out. Like I'm usually, it's either Charleston, Charlotte. I think my one paranormal was in Washington, and I did research via.
Now, what's the paranormal one?
Summers Howell.
Okay, because I like
paranormal. So I'm going to go ahead and give your paranormal book a try. So if you pull me in, I'm going to be like, girl, you did it.
So here's the thing. I wrote Summers Howell on a whim, on a dare, to be honest with you. Somebody was like, write a paranormal. I was like, I don't think I can write a paranormal. It was like, try it. So I was like, so Trail and Tay, in the book Trail and Tay, I introduced the character Claire. And Claire, I made her her dad came in the picture and he kind of said some things. So I said, I'm going to spin this off and make Claire a werewolf. So that's how that came about. And everybody, I think that is my worst written book. And when I tell you, everybody be like, that book is the best. And I'm like, really?
So do you have to read something else before you read Summers?
You don't necessarily have to. Claire is introduced in Trail and Tay, but it's separate. So Trail and Tay are not in the book. They're mentioned at the very beginning, but they're not in it. So you don't have to. But it's actually about werewolves and centaurs, because I had never seen anybody write about centaurs.
No, I haven't either, and I read a lot of paranormal.
So I was like,
okay, so wait a minute, y'all gotta back up for a second. Now I know about werewolves. I've heard about centaurs, but explain to me what they are.
it's a horseman. So half of their body is horse, half of their body is man. But there's different types. Yes. So there's different types. So in the way I wrote the book, there's different type of centaurs. So there's centaurs that have four, like the body's a full horse, and there's centaurs. In my book, I have them where they have 2 legs. So it's a gene, it's a triple gene. So like I just wrote it like when I tell you, because of the movies I watch, like I watch a lot of different, I like those type of movies and things. So I pull a lot of inspiration from movies and things like that. So I was like, I got to make this scene because I want them to be, I don't want them to be.
I think that's a centaur.
What it was they were 4-legged centaurs, but centaurs never change. Like they only change, they don't become humans. But the way I wrote the book was they have this rare gene where they can change human and fit in with society as they will.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm definitely check it out because I love, like I said, I love paranormals. Now, is there a genre that you haven't written that you would like to write?
Not really. Like I think I do good with romance. Everybody is asking me for another paranormal where I'm like, really? Y'all want another paranormal? I'm like, and I'm be honest, I struggled writing Summer's House. Like because I think so I like paranormals as well. So when I was writing the paranormal, I'm writing it like this doesn't even out to Nativia or Jade Royal. Like I just feel like I'm lacking. So I wrote
Jade Royal.
Let me tell you something.
Girl,
them deadly sins got me all wrapped up. All wrapped up.
Now I'm gonna have to read it because Lena has been saying for a while, read Jade Royal. And I'm like, I'm not into paranormal.
Let me tell you.
Oh God.
That girl can write her ass off.
Yes.
I'd be like,
she's here in Atlanta.
How she be thinking about this stuff?
And you talking about set scenes that
I'd be like, I think I want a wolf.
Yes.
Like, and it's another person who wrote well, not so much paranormal, but like she wrote about metahumans. She and I think she's on Beloved now. And Lord, I can't remember her name on top. It's gonna come to me after we finish this. I'll be like, So yeah, I'm working on another paranormal. I have it in my mind what I know, what I want to do. And I'm probably going to actually release that under Mel Dau's publication, rather Beloved's publication. So I did, start my own publication company, so I can re-release all of my own books. But I'm also going to do little other projects. So my publication company is going to be I'm going to be honest, it's more like going to be I want to try something out. So,
it's yours.
But on Beloved, I'm more so do my romances and things like that because I don't think there's anything else. I like romance. I love Black love. And, it gives me hope. Like writing about Black love and reading other people's books about Black love makes me feel like it's still out there. And it's not too far-fetched to think that there's a man that won't actually cheat on you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like all of my books, I write about men who love their women.
Right.
And they do
what they do, but you can still love your woman and do what you do. You know what I'm saying? You don't always have to it doesn't have to be a situation where you fall into temptation. Now, I'm not saying don't look, because when I'm in a relationship, I will look.
In a minute.
You're like, okay, let me snap my head right back real quick. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, TikTok was made for looking. Girl, that's a different breed of man on TikTok. I'm like,
man. The men on there, Jesus.
I'm like, okay, clearly I need to move to Mississippi, Alabama, or Texas. That's where they at. That's what I'm noticing. And now, I don't really even like police. But now, I kind of am okay with the police officers. I'm like,
girl, big and fine.
Big Talk? Have you been on Big Talk?
Oh, I seen Big Talk. Oh, the new one that's like 6'8", 305 pounds.
Girl, just hashtag Big Talk and watch all them videos come up. Girl, I'd be like, yes. I be like, that's why I did that video the other day. I was like, bitch, I'm a big gangster. Like, yeah. I be like, yes, honey. I like Lord, but yeah. So I like, and a lot of times with even when I do my character visuals, I try to pick. A lot of times I actually pick people. In the beginning, I was picking people that I knew, and I still do sometimes. People that I know. So like Love's Touchdown, the person on the cover and the character visual, that's one of my sorors.
Oh.
So yeah, so I asked her if I can use her on the cover, and she said sure. So and I always try to pick people who, in my opinion, aren't model pretty. Like they're not overly gorgeous. Right. So I want that around the way girl. She, plus size. Same thing with I have a thing for beards and dark skin.
There's nothing wrong with it.
It really isn't. I'm okay with that. Keep it that way, please.
And locks. Let me tell you, every time I see a man, I'm like, Lord Jesus. So, and I just try to, give you somebody that, because I thought, look, Tiberius, let me tell you, Tiberius is a sexy ass man. But if you go on his IG and listen to him talk, it's like, Lord, this nigga.
Really? I'm gonna have to go do that. I don't know. Have you seen the guy Lawrence Robinson? I
don't know where he's from. He's from somewhere in the country. He's from Florida. And when I tell you, he can't talk worth a damn. Like it automatically he's attractive. But when he talks, I can't listen to videos where he talks because I automatically get turned off.
Yeah, he can't. But he is good to look at.
Yeah, I like, and then he keeps goals in his mouth, and they're not. How can I say this? They're not the best quality goals in my opinion because I've used fronts, but they just they're real yellow. So I'm like, I like them goals. I like, something a little better. So he'll be talking in his full mouth. Hey man, and I'm like, bruh. Stop. And when I was in college, I went through a whole phase where I was into Florida boys. Like I love me Florida boys.
You went to HBCU, right?
I did.
And so you had them Florida, you had them Chicago.
I went to Benedict College, so you have Florida boys. I was from Charleston. You had the Charleston block. The Florida boys stood in front of the cafeteria. The Jersey boys stood in front of the gym. Like you got your up top boys, you got your little island boys over there. You got your little New Orleans boys over there. So I was like, okay, what I like this month.
Look, I think that's the HBCU experience because I went to Alabama State, so it was like you had the Chicago's, you had the New Yorks, you had the Floridas, some Texas, some California, them islands.
Yeah, he's country. He's good to look at, but Lord, when he started talking, I was like,
stop and search.
Even who I use for Liam as a character visual, I don't like hearing him talk either. It's crazy. Even Calypso, he's cool, but he thinks he can sing. So he wants to be a singer. And in my opinion, he's all right. He's not American Idol.
That book right there. So it took when you said the love spectrum, I was like, okay, am I on the same wavelength as she's on? And then when I started reading it, I've worked with autistic kids. Mm-hmm. I tell people all the time, if I ever go back into education, because I used to do education, I would definitely go back to special education. I work with kids who were autistic. I work with kids who had Down syndrome. I work with kids, they consider them ED, emotionally disturbed. Those children, to me, children, I love children, but those children to me just got a special place in my heart. And then, like I said, to read a book about the male character being autistic, I was in awe. I was like, thank you.
So how did you come up with that?
Yeah.
So before I got to Be Loved, I did a novella trilogy called His Love Is More Than Enough. And it's 3 separate stories. And her, Calypso and Bella, his mom and dad, are one of them. So I have to re-release it. And I'm going to re-release it soon. It's called His Love Is More Than Enough, and I'm have to re-release it, which I'm gonna be re-releasing that probably. What were we in March? I'm probably gonna try to re-release it late April or early May, because they're novellas, but those are the base stories.
Right.
So that story is about Calypso Senior and Bella, how they met, and but Calypso was in the book as a child. So I don't know if you remember in the love spectrum where Bella tells Luna he wasn't always like this. This took a lot of work.
She did.
You'll see that in that first book that he was not severely autistic, but his mannerisms were more of a, different. It took a lot of training and a lot of things to get him where he is today. So, and then you'll see the interaction of him and his mom, his real birth mom in that book.
Right. So
that, and the same thing with, if you read The Christmas Gift with Harlem and Kylie, I have a book for Harlem's dad and his mom.
Yay! Like, I'm so excited.
So in that story, you'll find very interesting because it's actually not truly about Harlem Jr. in that book. It's about the dad and the mom and his older sister. The sister
because I was like, damn, Chio, like, far apart, but I want to see, that's what I'm saying. I love the fact that you give us the backstories, because I'm like, I want to know what happened. Like, where did this come from? And I loved me some Harlem. Oh my gosh. Like, Harlem was no joke. I loved everything about that story. I think I might go reread it.
Yeah, and that was like, I wrote that one pretty quick, but like, so interesting, like my novella trilogies, I was writing Summer's Howl and wrote the novella trilogies in the middle of writing Summer's Howl. So like literally I spit those three, like I just like wrote 3 novellas and then I put them together and said, I'm just name them all the same title, but give different stories. And my point was to tell a story from a male's point of view, showing that he can love a woman past something. Because we always hear about women loving men past stuff.
Yes. But oh my gosh.
So all of these women had something going on with them. For instance, like Harlem and his mom, what was her name? Constance. Her name might have been Constance. Harlem and Constance. Harlem Jr.'s mom. I think her name is Constance.
Yeah.
The big thing with them is, and not to tell the book, but the big thing with them is he adopted a baby that was hers and she didn't realize it. You know what I'm saying? So
that right there.
She threw a baby in the trash.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then they come together later. So, that, and she talks, and they talk about it in the book. Matter of fact, in Christmas Gift, they talk about it. Right. So, so that's how they met. Like she put this baby on the step outside of his trap house because she couldn't keep the baby. Then years later, she comes back, gets a job with him, and then, oh my God,
that's her child. Yep.
So that's how, so.
And which story is this?
I love her past.
It's in the book with Harlem and Kyra Lee.
The Christmas Gift.
It
references that story in the book, but when I put out the novella, that's the true story.
Okay, so I can't wait for that.
I did that intentionally. When I wrote The Christmas Gift, I intentionally mentioned that backstory. So when I put out the true book, you can see, you'll understand where the backstory comes from.
And you said you're dropping these in April, May?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to drop these because I have right now what is at the editors is a book I dropped called A Love So Blue. And that story is about police brutality.
Oh, I can't wait for that. So do you have a book? Because like right now I'm doing my content. Do you have a book that's like a single mother or a single dad? Like,
So ironically, Calypso Senior was a single dad. Harlem was a single dad. I want to say that might be it on the single father spectrum that I did.
And you said they're getting their own books or they're already out?
No, they're going to get they already have novellas that I wrote. I just got to re-release them. So I'm waiting for this. I'm going to do A Love So Blue, and then I'm going to send those to the editor and have those come out. I'm going back and forth with whether I want them to come out individually or just group them. Because what I did was I released them in the previous individually as ebooks, and then I smushed them together as a paperback.
You should just do that.
It was a thick paperback. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll just put all 3 books together as an ebook too, and then just charge like $4.99 for it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's 3 books
That
in
is
one,
true.
3 separate stories in one, and each story is like 24,000 words. So it's going to end up being like a 60, 70K book.
Page book.
So that,
But it's more than one book.
Yeah. So I figured out, but I know I'm going to put it to. It'll be out in May. It'll definitely be out.
Okay, so they're going to be my June read because I want to do like for Father's Day month for June. I want to do books that are single dads.
Yeah.
And then they meeting a woman. So definitely.
Yeah, it'll be out.
Gave me 2 books.
Yes, and I want to say that might be out of my books that I need to re-release. I think those are the last 3.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even realize I had as many books until it came time to re-release them. I was like, damn, I was right.
Yeah, I see. I looked
at how did you get into writing? I mean, what made you start?
Yeah.
So ironically, like it said that I read a bunch of books. My dad was sick at the time, so I was reading books to try to deal with his sickness. And my dad had liver cancer, and then it spread to his brain. Ooh. So we were mourning him before he passed. I was up and down the road from Charleston trying to, I'm a daddy's girl to the death of me. Mel Dau is short for Melvin's daughter. Yeah, so I love that. I'm like, okay, my dad is not da-da-da. So when my dad got to a certain point in his health, he banned me from the hospice center. So I was having a fit, like, why da-da-da? But now in hindsight, as a father, even in his last breath, he was trying to protect me.
Right.
Like, I don't want you to see me like this. Or whatever. So now my brother, at the time, my brother was overseas, I want to say. So my brother, he was in like Afghanistan, Iraq, somewhere. So they got my brother over here, and my brother literally got there. He still had his BDUs on, got there in time. And at the time that my brother got there, my dad had no motor functions, anything. But the nurses say that when my brother walked into the room, my dad sat up and said something. Yeah. And then my mom came in the room, and my mom stayed with him. And I have no doubt that my mom's last effort was to lead my mom was very spiritual, to lead my dad to, that sinner's prayer and making sure he's good with God. And then he passed. So when he passed, my world was gone. Like I don't want to do nothing. So Tasha Bookies, they were doing a short story contest. So she reached out to me. She said, hey, write a short story. All right. Like I was like, okay, whatever. So I wrote the first 2 chapters of Kyrie and Pie, and I sent it in. So she reaches out to me. She's like, I'm not putting this in the contest. I'm like, what you mean you're not putting my you told me to write this short story. You better put myself in the contest. She was like, nah, I want you to write a whole book. I said, girl, I ain't got nobody time to write no book. I'm an HR professional. I can't be writing no urban literature. That's what I'm thinking. Like, oh. So, but being honest, in reality, I had a suicide plan. So this was cutting into my plan, baby. I ain't got time to write no books. I don't plan to be here by the end of the week. So she was like, Tice, come on. So then Saja J reached out to me because at the time Queens of Lit publication was three women, Saja J, Zatasha, and Christy Hand. So they started the company. So she reached out to me and she said, just write 5 chapters and then tell me how you feel. So I was like, out of deference to her, because she was one of my favorite authors at the time, I said, you know what? All right, I'll do that. So I wrote the 5 chapters in maybe 3 hours. And it dawned on me that I can immortalize my father in the pages of my books.
Right.
All that wisdom that he had sown into me all these years, I can still pass that on and bless other people. And it literally saved my life. And I tell Natasha that all the time, like, you saved my life. Like, you have no idea. I had already, when I said I had already pulled out all of my documentation to have set out, and then, quite frankly, when you commit suicide, you don't really get health and you don't really get your payout for your life insurance.
Right.
Let's be honest. I had set out certain instructions for my daughter. I had set out letters. I was ready. I had my cocktail together. I was going to go forward with this plan. And literally, it was like God said, we're going to have to work this out. And in that first year, I put out books back to back. I literally probably had a release every month because I was still trying to save my life.
Right.
So I felt like if I'm not writing, I'm going to die.
Right.
So since then, I've been through intensive therapy. Like I literally just got back to work. I had an episode in December where I tried to on a suicidal, and I had to leave work, and they put me in intensive therapy, and I'm just now feeling better and getting back to being my life, taking my meds. I'm diagnosed bipolar, hence my pen game is bipolar.
Okay.
It's an everyday struggle, and writing is a part of my treatment plan. So it's like if I don't feel well, I'll write or I'll read. So, and I read a lot. I read just as much as I write. So after I finish writing Shameless Love, I try to read 50 books in between the projects. So that takes me maybe like 3 weeks, because I can read 3 to 4 books a day if I'm just like reading. So, and I love there are so many amazing authors, and it's like, I hate that so many authors don't get their shine. And yes, I hate that. And it's for me, I always feel blessed when people like, you like my books? Because I love your books. Even to now, when I went to Atlanta Kickback 2 years ago, last time they had it, to have people come to you and say your book impacted me, that's my gift. I would say I'm an informational drama person. I want to impact you. I want you to be entertained, but I want to save somebody's reality with my fictional reality. Because if it wasn't for writing, I wouldn't be here. And I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't be here. Every night that I go to bed, I pray, and then I say, okay, God, give me a storyline. So I'm working on the storyline now in my head, and I don't start writing until I get it to a certain point. But mental health is a big thing, and that's why I'm always on mental health in my books. Justice's Rose that's when I found my voice. And I said, you know what, Delia is important. She was an important character, because I hated reading urban literature and you see a character that's bipolar and she just goes crazy out of nowhere. That's not how that looks. Right. Like my manias don't look like that. I've been in manias. Like everybody's mania looks different, let me say. But and there's different types of bipolar. Bipolar 1, bipolar 2. Bipolar 2, you're just more in a depressive state. You might, sleep a lot. This is bipolar 1, you go through mania. So you might have, my manias can come out in different ways. Like, for instance, I was just on my live in my group, and I was saying, at the beginning of COVID, I went through a mania, and I said, oh, I'm gonna learn how to do my eyebrows. So I bought stuff to learn how to do my eyebrows. And all of a sudden I said, oh, I'm gonna learn how to do all my face. In a mass of a month, I bought over $1,200 worth of makeup. I have so much makeup in my house right now, but I know how to beat a whole face. I learned that in the mania. So, and I thank God that I thank God for resources, financial resources, and I've never been to a point where I spend frivolously to the point of not being able to pay my bills. Right. But I can look, when I get into a game or something, on how they have them in-app purchases.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I can spend $200-300 in a month on in-app purchases to buy more jewels, right? Or whatever. And I'm thinking, and then in my head, I'm like, whatever. And then I look at it and be like, damn, Ty, you spent $400 on in-app purchases. You could spend on something else. But I thank God for the resources. But that's my thing. You know what I'm saying? And then I always be like, it could have been crack. I mean, that makes no logical sense. But in my head, I'm like, because my dad used to say stuff to me. He'd be like, Tice, do you really need such and such? I'd be like, Dad, it could have been crack. He'd be like, you know what, you're right. You're right. My dad had a thing about crackheads. Like all his analogies had a crackhead in it. I'm like, so what's up with the crackheads, Dad? Like what's going on with that? We gonna have a conversation about that?
I feel like it's an older man thing, because my stepdad is like that. He will turn something and be like, dude, you never even smoke crack. Have you even seen crack?
Right. I'm like, that what?
Yeah, and his new thing now is because he just went through lung cancer, and now he's fine. So he's still kind of like dealing with the pain where he had the incision for the surgery at. And me and him was talking one day, and he was like, child, because whenever he talked to me and he say child, I'd be like, uh-oh, something about to come out this good. He was like, child, I need some weed. I said, whoa, where did it come from?
Look, now my daddy did smoke. My daddy did smoke weed. Now he ain't even never lied. And what was weird is he used to smoke Black and Milds, and he would like mix weed into the Black and Mild. Like, what are you doing, bro? Yeah, it just writing literally saved my life. And I always so my thing is, when I go into a book, I go into the book thinking, I want you to be entertained, but I need to touch somebody. I need to feel. So when I did Atlanta Kickback, y'all, I probably gave away more books than I sold. Like, I literally made maybe $400 because I gave away most of my inventory. Because my thing is, I'm a firm believer to be blessed, be a blessing.
Right.
So my thing is, okay, I came up here to sell books, but in the same time, some people need something. So if you're coming to me, and I'm a social worker trained by heart. That's what I did prior to HR. But then I realized, yeah, you gotta have a special heart for that. So let me go ahead and go over to HR before I beat somebody mama up. So I actively listen. Mm-hmm. So when I'm listening to people coming looking for me, like one of the ladies who was over Atlanta Kickback, she came, she said, girl, I had to come to your table because people was coming up to the thing asking if you were here. I was like, me? She was like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. And then people would come on the table and they'd be like, because I remember crying before going to Atlanta Kickback saying, I don't have a sales pitch. Like, how do I get people to buy my books? And I went to sleep, and I'm a firm believer. This is my personal opinion. I think that sometimes when God talks to you, he talks to you in the voice of somebody that you're comfortable with. Yeah, so I often tell people that my dad still talks to me, but in my head, I know it's God. So I went to sleep and I heard my dad say, stop worrying about a sales pitch, just give an impact statement. So I was like, okay. So when I got there, people come to the table. She's like, girl, I read this book, and me and my daughter have been through so much. And so I'm at the table crying, like, we got tissues. It's become a whole therapy session. I'm giving up. Can't take these books. Girl, be a blessing. My friend was like, Ty, you supposed to be selling them books. Mm-hmm. God gonna bless me later. And he has.
Yes.
Yes. He's blessed me. He's blessed me over in abundance. So I want to be, and that's why I'm so vocal about my mental health struggles. Right. You know what I'm saying? I'm vocal about saying, yeah, sometimes I'm not okay. In December, I had a scare. I called. I was in a dark place. I was thinking thoughts that were way past what I was used to. So I reached out for help, which resulted in me having to be hospitalized and go through intensive therapy and do what I needed to do, leave from work. And I literally just got back to work on March 2nd.
I'm like, I don't know. I tell people all the time, and I met this lady like 2 years ago when I moved down here. And just me and a friend, we was out looking at houses and everything. And after we finished looking at the house, she stood outside and she talked to both of us, but she was talking to her first. So she just kept on looking at me, and I'm like, just sitting there like, why is she looking at me like that? So then she turned to me. She was like, you see things, you feel things. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? She was like, you see things before that happens. And you think it's deja vu, but you didn't already seen it. Mm-hmm. And my friend said out her mouth, she was like, she does that all the time. And she was like, what do you mean by she does it all the time?
You being something like, damn, it's feel like deja vu.
Somewhere. And I'm like, we already been here. Like, I literally would tell her, she's like, we never been here. I'm like, yes, we have. And so when that lady said it to me, that's why my friend was like, she does it all the time. She can say we've been somewhere, we haven't been there. And like, now that somebody has brought it to my attention, I see it and I feel it. And I don't know what it was about you. Like, when I read your first book, I was like, I just felt everything. Like, whatever you was going through, I'm just like, it's in your books. It's on paper. And like you said, is what people need to hear, need to read. Like I was telling Lena, I said, I've never read a book that you had a guy that had an adult who had autism. I have never read a book where a mother went through cancer, like, because I know you took Tay, she had cancer, she passed. With Pi, what you say, Pi having Alzheimer's. I'm just like, I felt everything, and I'm just like, whoa. And then I was just like, like I said, we have to get her on the show, because I want to know where all of this came from. But sitting here listening to you now, I know it's like, you're living life on like you said, being diagnosed with bipolar, and you're just living your life, and you're struggling sometimes through your life, but you're still taking the time to impact other people.
Right.
And people don't do that, even if they're not going through something like that. So all I can say is just thank you, because like I said, I'm like, where did she come from? And you're needed. I'm telling you, you're needed. These books show that you're needed. Them people that came to you telling you that you're needed. So literally, like, thank you, because I'm just like, wow.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate that, because of course the money's good, but it's the impact, like getting those inboxes from people to say, you know what, like even the Untainted Love I had, and I think I even posted it when the book came out. Somebody inboxed me and she gave me permission to post her email, and she said I saved her life. She said she was going to kill herself, and her friend gifted the book to her. Mm-hmm. And it made her feel like she could have love. And I've heard from her recently. She recently just got married. So and she's HIV positive, and she recently got married. And with the COVID thing, she was trying to have a wedding, so she invited me. She had a wedding on like Zoom or whatever, so she invited me to the wedding. And those are the things that I live for, because everybody needs somebody, and regardless of what you feel. And a lot of times I didn't realize the urban industry was a whole community. First of all, let's be honest. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that. So now my readers have become my family. They become my friends. So I don't mind saying, like in my group, I don't mind. I'm a little more vulnerable in my group than I am on my normal page. I don't mind saying, and I said, even with my group, when I started it, because everybody had been asking me to start a group for the longest, I was like, girl, I ain't going to keep up with no group. Like, I got too much going on. But when I started that group, I said, this group has no format. You go to some groups, Monday is Motivational Monday, Tuesday is this. Yeah. I said, this group is just like y'all my mania group. So this shit gonna be all over the place. Mm-hmm. Just like me. So I have the day and talk about absolutely nothing. I was getting ready for the podcast. I went live and just was like, I'm doing my makeup, like, hey y'all, because I feel good today. I'm excited. I was excited about doing these podcasts. I have another one later. I'm like, somebody wants to talk to me. Like, because, and I don't know, I'm not going to say it's humbleness, but it's just like a lot of, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. So a lot of times, even in my writing, I don't feel worthy. Right. You know what I'm saying? I'm still, I think my books are good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to downplay myself completely. Right. Mm-hmm. However, I'm just like, bruh, Christina Jones, let's talk about these love Belvins. Let's talk about these B-Loves. These are women that I'm like, bruh, if I ever get to that level, you won't be able to tell me nothing.
You gonna get there. I feel like you're getting there. The messages. See, I think people need to understand, and me and Lena talk about this all the time. Now, when I'm reading to take me away from reality. Mm-hmm. I'm not reading to sit here and pick apart people's book because I done been through this, I done been through that. A lot of the stuff that I read, I have been through, but I'm not going to compare what you wrote in the book to what I've been through, because that ain't my business. That's the person who wrote this book business, and my business is separate. But I have cried from some of your books. Mm-hmm. I have bust out laughing from some of your books. So that right there said, I don't care what she put out, I'm going to keep on reading.
Mm-hmm. And I think the most important thing with any book, and even with authors, is that the person who's reading the book is relating to the book on some form or fashion. Right. I may read it another way and take a totally different impact from Love Spectrum and Crystal Hat.
Right.
But it's my perspective of the book. And, you know, and I think people grasp things from books at a totally different things. I'm, you know, like I feel KJ in this book. Like I don't I haven't done with autism, but like his whole mentality, like I'm a man, let me be a man. Don't stop.
Right. I'm a grown ass man.
Right. I'm a grown ass man. And so I feel that, and I love when our authors make Black men just men, like they're not soft. They're just like, I'm a grown ass man. You gonna treat me like a man, and I'm gonna take care of my woman. And I love those type of men because you know that's what I have in my life are those type of men.
Right. So, and that's what I had around me. So I've seen love. I've seen love imperfect. I've seen love, which I thought was amazing. You know what I'm saying? So I try to relay that to my writers. I try to say, you know, I want you to feel every gamut of feelings. I want you, and a lot of I always have a character release character in my book. Like I love comedy. I love laughing. So I'm always that silly character in the book that's like just saying off the wall stuff like what? But a lot of times in my friendships, I'm that friend. So I'm like, bro, I'm gonna make a joke out of anything. So it's just, you know, it's just I write what I know. If you notice in my books, I don't talk about designer clothes. I don't talk about none of that because I don't hear none of that. Who? What? Hello.
And then they got money, so you would think that's all they want to wear. Like all of them have money, and you are not hearing none of them are living above their means.
They drive Audis. Yes. I might get a Porsche Cayenne in there every once in a while, a Lexus truck. Bitch, I don't Phantom what? Nobody. Look, in Cayenne Pie, Trail said we live down a dirt road. Who's driving 100,000 car down a dirt road?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's my reality. Right. I don't know. I don't know about heavy designers like that. And guess what? It's not my interest. So I'm not gonna write about it. I might slip on some Gucci something, but look, I'm a girl that still wears Kate Spade. I like Tory Burch. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not, I don't like, sometimes I be reading books, I be having to Google the designer, like,
I know, me too.
Like, that shirt costs $800.
Right. Like,
that's like 3 months of my phone bill.
Yes. My son, like, he loves expensive things. I was just talking to him yesterday. He sends me a picture, and the Yeezys, for some Yeezys, they like $283. I said, Dad, you buying shoes? That's $283. Can you buy me a pair of chucks?
Right.
Ones. He said, how much of them are? I said, like about $50, $60. He's talking about something. That's all. I said, sir, I don't need to be walking around in those expensive shoes.
Let me tell you, call me what you want. I was at the flea market the other day. The dude had some them blue and white retro 13s, and he had them for $150. Let me tell you, they could have been fake. I didn't give them 2 damns. I was gonna buy them. Because they 200 and something in the store. I was like, bro. I looked at them, I said, they look real to me. And if you looking at my feet that hard to determine if they fake, I'm questioning your life.
Right. Yeah. Your inspiration, because I know like a lot, like I said, the family dynamics. Like what made you write your family dynamics in a book? Because I love it. Like I'm not even gonna sit here and lie. I love it.
I have an interesting family dynamic. So like there's a lot of things that, so like my mom and dad, they were together. My mom and dad had they had an interesting relationship. So they were together. And then when when we moved to the States, they broke up. They weren't together, but they were always legally married. So there was like, they were like almost like best friends. It was weird. So my dad had a girlfriend. He had a girlfriend. Like when I was 13, she was there my entire life. When my dad died, she sat on the front row next to my mama. They held hands walking in. She was in the obituary as a special friend. And his family was irate. They were like, how in the hell could you allow this? And my mom's thing was like, you know, one, this is our marriage. And what you know, in the confines of a marriage, it is what it is. And two, once you're with a person, after a certain amount of time, your needs change.
Yep.
You know, so she said, you know, there were times where my mom, she had lupus. My mom passed February 2019. Okay. She had lupus. So there were times where my mom was sick and she needed to go to the doctor or go to the hospital, or she needed to go to the store. And she would call my dad, Melvin, I need you to take me to the store because my mom didn't drive. He'd be like, well, I can't right now, so I'm going to send Joanne. His girlfriend. She come, pick my dog. So it was no beef. Now he had a whole nother girlfriend, Cassandra. I can't stand that bitch. But y'all, I dared her to step foot in. I said, you step foot at my daddy's funeral, you gonna get beat the fuck up. She didn't come near. Like she was the one that initially broke my family apart. Cause she, like my mom, she said she had this thing where she told my dad, which I don't know why I can never do it, but she kind of was like, I know you a man, just don't ever let anything cross over into this life. So we moved over when we moved from Italy to the States, Cassandra, she was young. She was like in her 20s at the time. I think I was 13, 14. Because I think my brothers had both left the house. They were already gone. They were already in college and stuff. So I was a freshman. Cassandra comes. She was in her late 20s, how old that was. She come knock on the door. Now, mind you, I knew who she was because I had seen her before. So she knocked on my little door. I answered the door. I'm like, she's like, is your mother here? Mama, somebody at the door. My mama come from around the corner. She got a little apron on. She cooking dinner. She like, now my dad at the time, he was a firefighter in Columbia. We were living in Mount Pleasant, firefighter in Columbia, Fort Jackson. So he, firefighters got days on, days off. Right. So he like, my mama came, she said, hey, how you doing? She said, my name is Cassandra Scott and I'm fucking your husband. I'm standing to the side. My mama said, okay, baby. Thais, can you go and set some lemonade out on the back? I'm looking at like, you want some cookies? Like, we about to feed you? Like, what's going on right now? So I walk off to the kitchen. I heard my mom say, come in, baby. I don't know if my mom was just waiting for that lady to cross that threshold. All I heard was doo 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 doo. When I tell you I didn't know my mama could fight. No. And my mama was a Christian now at this point. Like when I tell you my mama was a Christian, I used to tell people, my mama, if you want a prayer, just tell me. I'm gonna tell my mama to pray for you because it's gonna get through. Right. Like my mama was like a prayer. I learned how to pray from my mother. My mother was a prayer warrior. And that's one thing that I can say I relish that I got from her. I will drop to a prayer in a minute. And I'm talking like, I ain't talking about no little God. I'm talking, oh no, we about to get this in. We about to be on these knees till something happens. So to see her like throwing hands, I was like, shocked. My mama called the police, said she had an intruder. Got her locked up. My mama took her time that night and packed my daddy's stuff so neat. And you know what they say? When they pack your stuff neat, it's really over.
It's over.
She, not only did she, now you remember we military, so she didn't just pack it like folded. She rolled it like you knew in the military. So she had a roll all night. Because you can pack 1,000 things in a suitcase in the military. My daddy came home the next day. My mama looked at him. I'm crying like, I don't want him to leave. My mama said, Cassandra came to the house yesterday. My daddy looked at me. He looked at her. He went to her, said something in her ear. She nodded her head. He came to me, kissed me on my forehead. And he said, stop crying, baby, it'll be okay. I said, I want to go with you. And my brothers were home. They was mad. They was like, they was upset. Right. I was like, I want to go with you. He was like, no. And my mama said, let her go with you. If she want to go with you, she can go. So he let me come with him. My daddy can't take care of girls by himself, so I was back very soon. I was back very soon. Yeah. And that was it. That was the end of that. My dad went through a little phase where he was kind of like, you can't do this without me. My mom said, nigga, I'm from Brooklyn. Brevoort Projects. I'll go get on some food stamps and assistance. We moved out of our house, moved into an apartment. My mama got on food stamps assistance. She went to school, got her accounting degree, got a job. And she did it by herself. She got sick. And that's when my dad came back around, when her lupus started flare up. And then he came back around and was like, okay. But my dynamic was just interesting because even through all of that, I always knew my dad loved my mom. And he would tell his girl, Cassandra, she wanted him to get divorced. And my dad was like, I ain't never divorcing Linda. Unless she want me to. And when he died, my mama got all them good benefits. Yeah. And it was a lot of benefits. Like I didn't even know my dad had it like that until he died. So Cassandra was mad. Joanne had her own life insurance policy on my dad. And Eric was like, do you know she have a life insurance policy? I said, she better. She was my dad when I was
you can't
13.
do that now. You can't do that now. You can't get it on the man that you're dealing with now. You literally got to be married. But yeah, they changed that.
I said, yeah, she must have had it for a long time. I said, she better.
Mm-hmm.
I said, that don't make no sense if she didn't. So she got it. So we signed her back over because my mom, we got everything, but my mom signed her back over her house and her car or whatever like that. But outside of that, I mean, we were taken care of, you know what I'm saying? So my dynamic was just weird. And I said, you know what? I want to put it in a book. Like, I just need to, I'm a daddy's girl, and I love, and that's why I'm always talking about, if you notice all of the men in my book, they love their babies.
Oh my gosh.
They love their
and
babies.
that's why I was wondering, just like talking to you, how that was that like Kyrie, like what, so Kyrie was kind of like your dad. Yeah, because I love his new relationship.
Yeah, they love their babies. I don't play. Like, my one thing, like I always tell people, my dad was a cool man. Like, he'll sit on that he had his favorite little chair. He'll sit there before, like, at one point he stopped drinking and smoking because he got sick. He got, of course. But he'll sit on a thing with his Jack Daniel and his weed or his Black and Mild. He cool. But the minute he can get up off the couch to come out to handle something, oh, you better lock some stuff up.
Yeah, pretty much. And
because
that was in the book.
Down. Yeah. And that's just kind of how it was. Like, my dad was a quiet man. He didn't make too much noise. He don't want to be seen. He had money, but you would never, like, I remember you would never know that he had money. I remember one time my dad wore Dickies every freaking day. Every day. He had 100 pair of Dickies. He would take them to the Air Force Base and get them cleaned and starched with the crease.
And he wore
a simple white beater under it and cowboy boots.
Oh yeah.
So I remember these little boys coming around teasing him about his cowboy boots because they had on some J's or whatever. Yo, Booker has cowboy boots. And in my head, I'm thinking, them J's cost maybe $280, maybe $300. My daddy had boots that was $3,500.
Yeah, cowboy boots are expensive.
So and my dad didn't say nothing. He was like, that's what's wrong. I remember he'll never say, he said, that's what's wrong with niggas now. They always got to prove what they worth.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. He said that's the quickest way to get robbed.
That is true, definitely. So what is next? What do you want to do next? Like, what are we looking to get from Mel Dau?
So I don't know. I'm still going to be writing, of course. I think I want to go into some merch. My daddy said merch. I've been looking into doing that. I'm about to invest in a circuit and start making stuff. Maybe I've been going back and forth about journaling is big now. I journal and everybody's doing journals.
Yeah, I just started.
But, so I'm thinking about doing something like a journal, a prompt journal, but I don't know how my spirit feels about that just yet. So just, I know encouraging things like that, because I think that as long as I can make an impact in some kind of way. And that's just where I want to be. I just want to, as long as I can make an impact. So I think definitely looking on the merch side of things, maybe doing the boxes, subscription boxes are coming popular.
Oh, okay.
My twist on my subscription box, if I do that, is my plan, and this came to me, and y'all have the exclusive because this literally came to me last night. If I do a subscription box, whatever book is in that subscription box will be a book that I have not released anywhere else.
Oh wow!
Now that's a good subscription box.
So yes, it'll be something that I wrote just for the subscription box. It won't be it won't be on a platform at all. You'll have to have the subscription box. So it could be a novella, whatever, a short story, whatever, but every book that, if I do a subscription box that comes in there, it will be only for my subscribers.
Wow.
So that is where that came to me last night. Cause I said, everybody's doing them. I said, what can I do to be different?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And if you can get something exclusive from me that ain't nobody else gonna have.
then everybody's going to definitely want it. And that's true, because you're right. Everybody's doing it. What can I do differently? That is definitely true.
Right. So I said that would be a love, and it could be as simple as a short story about my characters, an update about my characters.
I love that. Yeah, because I love
that everybody wants that. Okay. Are you going to do an update on these characters? I did for my subscription box.
Yeah, because I just want to know more about Harlem Jr. and Kiara Lee, Kyrie and her husband, like all of them. I want to know, like, I just feel like just keep on going with them. Just keep on.
But you know
I
what's
want to know what's going on with Luna and KJ.
Yeah, I have some
names for your characters.
Yeah.
So it's Kair, Kai. So all the Kais are Kai. So like Kylie, Kair, Kaija. So it's always Kai, Kaija, Kair, Kylie, Trail, Tay. Because I have a long list of potential character names, and I literally pull from that list. So I don't know where Kair came from. I don't know why I did that, but
I like it.
Yeah, it's different. But I was just like, why you came up with that name? That was so hard to pronounce. But I know now if I find a name that's hard to pronounce, I put a key in there. You learn things as you go along. So like my last character, her name was Lady, but it was spelled Leydi. So I was like, it's a different way. So yeah,
I did see that, and I like that, because I was like, yeah, you don't see that too much, but I definitely like that. And I think I've known somebody named Lady, and it was just Lady. Like, Lady, do something different with your name. Spell it different. Definitely.
I'm going to definitely work on the subscription box, on the subscription box. And like I said, that's going to be my drive for that subscription box, is to have I might do it. I don't know if I want to do it every month, every other month, something like that. But it's always going to be whatever's in that box as far as book wise is something that is not going to be out there for the market.
I got you.
So I think that is something that I want to do. And because the subscription boxes take a lot of. I was going to get Ashley Antoinette's subscription box, and then I had to think about myself and say, am I really that big of a fan of hers to pay $150?
I didn't see that. The Lord said, don't even look that way, because I didn't see that. I missed that altogether.
I'm doing my research on the boxes. Like, okay, let's see what these boxes cost. You know what I'm saying? Like, how much are people spending on these boxes, and what's in these boxes? You know what I'm saying?
Makes sense why I saw some of the dialogue I was reading. They were talking about her boxes. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, what the hell is in this box?
What was she giving you?
So she gave you a book. You got, I ain't gonna lie, the wine glass was nice as I don't know what. You got a shirt. I don't know what else was in that box, but I just couldn't, my feelings, I was doing research on a bunch of different boxes. Like I seen some that were like $50, $75, whatever. I think my price range might be somewhere around the 50 to 60.
But you're giving a book that's not been out.
That's not been out. It's probably I'm probably going to do a wine glass or something, probably do a candle or something, because my thing is I'm going to do the subscription box, but in the same place, if I do a candle, I'm going to outsource for my candle. So I'm going to find a business, a Black business, and say, hey, I need to buy in bulk from you for my subscription box, so that I'm advertising. So in my box, you're getting other people's stuff. Right. If I do a t-shirt, I might do, hey, and the t-shirt could be something that's related to that particular book. So like I have a shirt from KJ. I have a shirt that said "Love is always on the spectrum." Somebody gave it to me, like they made it for me and sent it to me.
Oh,
and
I want one.
So
I got my bracelet on. I told you I was not taking it off, and I have not taken it off since I put it on.
And simple stuff like that. So just things like that, like stuff that's different. And I want to support people that So that's my area. So I know, okay, let's find a comfortable range for this amount, but now I know people are willing to spend $150, but in the same breath, I'm not Antoinette. I get that. Right. But I've looked at other authors and I'm like, okay, well, they boxes are about $50, $60, $70. So I know where my range is, but I was like, y'all, when I got that link and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm about, did I say $150?
Well, you got to ask your mania people, your group people. Now, Now I'm gonna have to come get in your group. I'm gonna have to come get in your
Look,
group.
let me tell you,
I know, right? I need to be in there too.
I'm gonna be honest, my group be off the chain. Like I be talking about all type of things in my group. like I was the other day, I was like, y'all, this is because my group is a safe place. I want everybody to know that it's a safe place. So you can talk about any and everything. So I was like, other day I was like, look, y'all, this is a safe place. So I always wonder why dudes like sleep with their hand down their pants. I'm like, I don't get it. I said, but honey, I miss and slid my hand under my
youngest does that.
under my Hey, I was knocked out. I said, I get it, man. I get it. That warmth will catch you every time. So now I can't.
I put my hand under my fupa.
I was like knocked out. Like I'd be like, I was like, look, I was working, supposed to be in a meeting, and I laid back and slept my hand. I didn't know I was sleeping until I heard myself. I was like, wait a minute, I'm in a whole meeting. I was like, but I love my group, the dynamic in my group. I have men in my group, women, you know, whatever. We talk about serious things. A lot of times it's just joke things or whatever. We talk about my books, whatever. And I'm gonna start going a lot live in my group more often. But like I said,
definitely have to get over there because I follow you on TikTok, so I can imagine what you're gonna be raw. So
I just feel like I don't have like I said, it's my mania crew. You never know what you're going to get from me, and that's just a part of my personality. And when I was younger in college, I had a real destructive personality, and I never understood why, because I wasn't diagnosed at the time. Okay. But now that I'm diagnosed, I can look back in college and be like, so I just wasn't crazy, bitches. Well, technically I was, but yeah.
I was.
You know, so I had understanding. You know, now I have an understanding, you know, behind like, what's going on? That makes sense because like on my college campus, you don't mess with pie. You don't mess with pie. You don't mess with pie, man. Pie will kill you. However, and now as an adult, I realized I should have killed him. I did. I tried to, but you know, but you know, look, y'all. I can tell y'all some stories in college. Like to this day, when I like, you know, them posts where they be like, "What do you remember me from in college?" I don't put them posts up no more.
Because you can imagine what you're gonna get back, huh?
I get the same thing back every time. That time you pull that girl out her car when the car's still gonna drive. We forget about that. I was like, I asked that girl.
Never. Yeah.
And I asked her for forgiveness, but she did not forgive me.
Not at all.
I was like, well, that was your fault. Because that girl got smart with me. So I don't know what she thought. What do, like, ma'am, I asked her, I said, so you and my baby daddy mixing? She said, you need to ask your man. Every woman know what that means. Okay. I'm gonna ask him as soon as I pull you out this car and ask you again.
You should have just answered. So can you tell our audience where we can find you. Give us all your social media handles.
So you can find me on every social media platform under Author Mel Dau. On my TikTok, it's Author Mel Dau. On my IG, is Author Mel Dau. I think I don't use my Twitter. I ain't even going to send y'all there. That's a dummy mission. On Facebook, Author Mel Dau. I have a group on Facebook, Mel Dau's Mania. I have a website, and my website is Mel Dau's Mania as well. That's where I sell all my paperbacks. And Amazon. Yeah, and Amazon. So I'm all Author Mel Dau. If you plug in Author Mel Dau on Google, I come all up. It's scary.
You do. You definitely do.
It's a little scary.
I need to get some more books. So, you know, I mean, because I think I have like maybe 4 or 5 of them. So I'm definitely going to get more.
Yeah, I'm about to restock. I am going to be at Atlanta Kickback this year. I made that decision.
They doing it this year? Like
they are. It's July 17th.
I see. I got to look that up. I'm putting that on my calendar because I will be there. Oh, my cousin coming down that weekend. I don't care. Let me see if I need to put in the take off that day, because if it's on a Saturday, I'm gonna have to take off because I got a new job.
It's a Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put in for that day to take off.
I made a decision yesterday. Yeah, I made a decision yesterday that I am going to get a table. So I'm going to be there at Atlanta Kickback this year. And if you've never been, they are so much fun. Well, let me tell you, I did more fangirling than I sold books and gave them away.
Well,
my friends was like, Thais, you got to stay at your table. But I want to go talk to like, no, that's not how this works.
Somebody everybody there, and then just, you know, put a sign up, say out to lunch, and then go.
Right, I'll be back.
Yeah,
I'll be back. Because the first year, my first time going to Atlanta Kickback, I was an author, but I had only written, I want to say Kyrie and Pie, like maybe 3 books. So I went to Atlanta Kickback, but I didn't have a table, but I bought books with me to give away to authors that inspired me.
Right.
Nice.
So like, I remember I went to Miss Lady Peace table, and I was like, I just wanted to give you a book of mine, like you're someone, and she's like, oh yeah, you're Mel Dau.
See, you don't know people know you until you go out in public.
She pulled a book from under the table. I said, "That's my book." She's like, "Yeah, I was reading it." Okay, my book.
See,
look, like you just never, and you're right, you never know. I'm like, like going there and feeling like people knew who I was. Like, you my fave. How you know my name?
Yes, definitely.
You know, because when I was a reader, people knew me from reading. Like, and then honestly, I'm gonna be honest, that helped me a lot too. Because when I came from being a reader to an author, a lot of those authors that I supported, they supported me blindly.
Oh, so that's
they
a good thing.
Like, right? Like everybody who read can't write. I mean, let's be real. Like, that's so true. They didn't read anything of mine. They just saw, oh, she got signed. We're gonna support her blindly. Now, after a year, they're like, oh, yo, this girl really can write. And when when it was announced that I came under Be Love, that gave me a whole different level of validation, because everybody know Be Love don't sign trash.
She really don't. She don't.
So people was like, oh, wait a minute. You may have heard of me, but you never read it. And then you're like, oh, dang, she got signed to Be Love? Oh, she got to be legit.
Yes.
So all of your books that you've written under your previous publishing company, you're gonna read. Yeah,
most of them are already re-released. Except for I think 4 right now. So I think the last 4, which is A Love So Blue, and those novellas that I was telling you about. But everything else, I think everything else is already.
What was the very first book you wrote?
Kyrie and Pie.
Okay.
And if you look if you go on, is it on my Facebook? If you go on any of my social media and like in the bio, I have a link tree, and it has all of my catalog, and it's going from the bottom to the top in order. And it's all the links for the ebooks. So
from bottom to the top.
Yeah. Which I don't know why I did that like that. I might have to change it. It made sense. It made sense in my mind. And then I was like, that's stupid. What did you do that?
I'm a teacher, so in the summertime, I'm gonna definitely dive into your catalog. But it's been awesome speaking with you. Yes. I'm so glad that you came onto the show.
Thank you.
Because you're awesome to speak with, and you know.
And I'm definitely joining the group. And you know, like I said, I'm a fan. You got me as a fan.
Thank you.
Look, and just speaking with you, although I'm reading Love Spectrum, I'm like 70% in when she told him that she was pregnant. But
you came to the good part.
Yeah,
you came to the good part.
And when I told Crystal, I was like, he's like, aren't you on the shot? Doesn't that prevent babies? I just bust out laughing.
Like, wait, what? Like, did I miss something?
Smashing into the blood. I'm sorry, y'all.
I'm excited to read your catalog to see, you know, in the start, because I'm gonna start from the very beginning, because I feel like I don't want to miss some parts. But I'm definitely gonna check out that paranormal, because I am a huge paranormal. But thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for coming.
Really appreciate
it. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. And I will definitely be looking for you at the kickback, because now I got to put that day on.
I will be.
I guess I'm gonna tag along with Crystal, so we could just go together.
Girl, you better have on your walking shoes and a big old bag, because I'm buying books from everybody.
Right.
Yes.
So yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.